So as promised in the Balance Manifesto, GGG did nerf Toxic Rain 4 times. And 2 direct nerfs happening to Toxic Rain itself, and then also 2 indirect nerfs occurring. But GGG also introduced new base types and new catalysts, which actually buffed this build quite a bit. Hey guys, Sniz here, and after reading patch notes I decided to make a quick little video where we discuss the nerfs to Toxic Rain, but also the buffs to this specific build, and then finally decide whether this is still going to be viable to play as a league starter for Ultimatum League. Spoiler, yep, it's still going to be a really good league starter. Toxic Rain and Mines, the combo is going to work amazing with the Ultimatum League mechanic. I guess TLDR for those of you who don't want to watch the entire video, don't stack AoE. Use the new base types, use the new catalysts. For those of you who do want a few more details about the nerfs themselves and also the buffs, let's take a look at them. For those of you who have absolutely no idea what build I'm talking about, I'm referring to my Toxic Rain Trickster with Mines. It's the build that I'm going to be league starting with. I made an entire league start video guide, so finish this video first, and if you're really curious, go watch that video so you know what to change. So let's start off with the nerfs happening to Toxic Rain itself. The first being the nerf to the slow from Toxic Rain. It's pretty much getting cut in half, and although that sounds pretty drastic, the slow has never really been the main reason to play Toxic Rain. And it's not as if we don't have a slow anymore, the slow is just losing 50% effectiveness. I don't think anyone who isn't a Toxic Rain one trick or who doesn't play Toxic Rain every single league would even notice this change. Now, the next change happening to Toxic Rain is how Toxic Rain gets affected by increased area of effect. Now, usually you have pods from Toxic Rain, and you want those pods to overlap, because overlapping damage over time pods from Toxic Rain does increase your damage, and you usually achieve this by just stacking increased area of effect. But now, increased area of effect actually pushes your pods further away from each other, making it a lot more difficult to actually stack your pods for overlap for single target. Now, without being able to test this and just wanting to give you guys something to work with on league start, my suggestion is to just not scale increased area of effect at all. And on this specific build, this means unspecking these 3 points right here and these 2 points right here. You could just use these 2 to path over through here or even through here, and then you could use these 3 points to maybe socket in a small. I don't know. That's my suggestion for now. Without being able to try it out, I can't really say anything more on the topic, but I will say, although this is a single target nerf, I actually think this is a clear buff, because not only does increased area of effect increase your pod size, but now it also spreads your pods further away from each other, so the entire screen is going to be covered in damage over time when you're clearing a map. So this sort of feels like a clear speed buff. Oh, and before I forget, you now want to go for a Dying Sun that doesn't have a large increased area of effect roll, right? You want to go for a low roll on that modifier, maybe like a 15%, which should actually make these flasks even cheaper now. And initially, that's all the nerfs people thought that we were going to see for Toxic Rain, but in our specific build, that's not the case. So we use 3 Wicked Pole Cluster Jewel notables, as you all know, and this unfortunately is one of the Cluster Jewel notables that got hit. So the new values for Wicked Pole is 30% increased chaos damage and 5% increased skill effect duration. So from this setup right here, we lose 15% increased chaos damage and 15% increased skill effect duration. Now, usually for self-attacking Toxic Rain builds, something like this affects them quite heavily. But since we use mines and we dump all 20 of our mines in like 3.5 to 4 seconds, this doesn't affect us all that much. So bear in mind we lose 15% skill effect duration. With everything and its current setup, my Toxic Rain has a base duration of 2.14 seconds. If I then unspec 2 Wicked Poles to just simulate closely the effect that we're gonna get from the nerf, so we're losing 20% here, not just 15%, we still have a duration of 1.94 seconds. So even after losing 20%, we're just losing 0.2 seconds. So for self-attacking builds, yes, this might affect them a little bit more, but since we have all of our mines laid down on the ground and we preload them and drop all of them almost instantaneously, this really doesn't affect us that much. Now, like I said initially, apart from the Wicked Pole nerfs, we have another nerf in store since we're getting nerfed 4 times. And that nerf is on the to chaos damage overtime multiplier, the craft that you can unveil. It's getting the minimum and maximum value for that mod reduced by 5% to chaos damage overtime multiplier. So that's another hit to our damage. So by now things might be looking grim for our League starter, but in all honesty, even if these were the only things that happened to the build without any buffs, I would still play this as a League starter. I don't think that the nerfs were enough to affect us all that much, but we did get buffed. Now the first buff that I'm going to talk about is the new Iolite ring base type. Now that ring has an implicit that increases chaos damage by 18%. Now if we use that ring base and an Essence of Envy that gives us 34% increased chaos damage, that's a bunch of extra chaos damage that we can get. But that's not all we get. We also get a Noxious Catalyst that enhances physical damage and chaos damage modifiers. Now why is this so big? Because on a ring with increased chaos damage implicit and an increased chaos damage essence craft, we can increase those modifiers even more with the essence or with the catalyst. And it doesn't stop there. On our amulet, we have chaos damage overtime multiplier. That mod right there would also be affected by the catalyst, boosting the multiplier that we get from our amulet as well. And it doesn't stop there. If you have the right belt, this belt unfortunately isn't the right belt, a hunter influence belt can have 30% increased chaos damage. You can use that catalyst on the belt as well to increase that value even further. So we indirectly got like 4 buffs just from those 2 things. Now something that I also would like to point out right now is that, like I said in the build guide video, I don't have any awakened supports. My belt doesn't have 30% increased chaos damage. My gloves doesn't have the increased chaos or increased damage over time warlord modifier. My helmet doesn't have nearby enemies as -9 chaos resistance. None of these have catalysts. We don't have the new base type. So the damage that I showcased in that video is still going to be less than what you can achieve post nerf this league with everything that we're getting with the correct upgrades. So I completely think that this build is going to be fine, and I'm definitely still league starting with this. Now for those of you who stuck around till the end, I have a secret thing I want to talk to you about. So in this expansion, we're getting a new helmet called the Glimpse of Chaos Unique Vol Mask. And I think this is going to be a game changer for many builds, especially this one. I'm going to go really hard to try and get that helmet on this build. We get 30-ish% increased maximum life, mana, and energy shield. And it's important to note here, we don't know what the roll ranges on this is. It might go up to 40. I think it probably won't go higher than 35. Maybe 32 is max. But still, 30% increased maximum life and energy shield is a lot. Now, the downside of having reduced elemental resistances might sound pretty significant. But on a build that is mostly rares, you can see that my resistances are capped way over. Like, I could easily fit in a helmet like that to gain 30% or more increased life. And since we then double dip with the increased, or we gain maximum life as extra energy shield, increasing our life is going to increase the amount of ES that we get. That also gets increased by 30. And the downside of having 0 chaos resist is a downside to some people, but early on in the league, having non-negative chaos resist is actually a buff, right? So keep your eyes on this helmet. I'm definitely going to try and get one, depending on how available it is. I think it's going to be a massively good helmet for hybrid builds in general. And that's really all that changes if I didn't miss anything from patch notes. Do I still recommend the build? Yes. Am I still going to play the build? Yes. We got off easy. Some other builds weren't as lucky. I think it's going to be amazing with the ultimatum mechanic, and I really do recommend you use this sort of setup if you are curious and want to try Toxic Rain. As always, if you like this video, remember to subscribe. It helps out the channel quite a bit. And if you want to see this build or many other perform live, you can follow the stream over at Switch. That's it from me. My name is Sniz. Good luck with your league start. I'm really rooting for you. I hope it goes well. And I'll see you in the next one, which should be pretty soon. Bye. Few days, it kind of seems that everyone is is done with PoE for now. I think most people have liquidated, most people have moved on to something else, playing some other game. Like, we're still in PoE because we made a promise.